If you want to upgrade your yoga practice, this easy chakra wall art project is the perfect weekend craft. I have made one for my own studio and it completely uplifts the vibe of the room. I have this cool cabochon mold for all the chakras, where the symbols are a relief design inside the silicone cavities. Since the mold is a little long, I'm going to cut it up into smaller pieces of 2 or 3 chakras just to make it more manageable on my desk. I want the final pieces to be translucent. So I'll use an epoxy resin base for casting. Because these cavities aren't very deep, a standard 1:1 mix will do the trick. It's a hot day today. Great for popping bubbles, but it means I have to work fast before the resin starts to set. I'm skipping the resting time for the resin here. The depth is shallow, and since I have 7 different colors to pour, the resin will start getting thick and difficult to work with towards the end. I'll give the surface a quick clean with some masking tape to catch any dust, and we are ready to craft. We are starting at the base with the root chakra or the Mooladhara, modernly depicted by red. It's a seat for emotions of survival, grounding, and physical stability, and is blocked by fear. To fully open it, one needs to acknowledge and face their greatest fears. I will not fill the mold right away due to my fear of bubbles. Instead, I'll apply a small amount of resin first to coat the relief design, ensuring that once the rest of the resin is cast, the chances of trapping bubbles are minimized. Next up is the sacral chakra or the Swadhisthana chakra, modernly depicted by orange. It is the seat for emotions of pleasure, passion, and the fluid spark of artistic creativity, and is blocked by guilt and self-doubt. To keep this energy flowing freely, one needs to honor their creative impulses without judgment, letting go of past mistakes to allow their inner art to pour out effortlessly. The third chakra is the solar plexus chakra or the Manipura, modernly depicted by yellow. It is the seat for emotions of will, personal power, and inner strength, and is blocked by shame. To unleash the inner fire through this chakra, one needs to release the disappointments and completely reclaim their self-worth. Moving up to the heart or the Anahata, translated to unstruck or unbeaten. It is the seat for emotions of love, compassion, and deep connection, and is blocked by grief and emotional guarding. To truly realign with this heart center, one needs to embrace compassion as the highest form of unconditional love, to realize that this radiant, infinite source of healing already lives within. The fifth chakra is the throat chakra or the Vishuddha chakra, modernly depicted by light blue. It is the seat for emotions of truth and authentic communication and is blocked by lies. To unblock this vital channel, one needs to strip away all denial and accept the absolute truth of who they are. The sixth chakra is the third eye chakra or the Agna chakra, modernly depicted by indigo. It is the seat for emotions of insight, intuition, and cosmic wisdom and is blocked by illusion. To awaken this higher perspective, we feed the center by staying curious, listening to diverse stories, and slowing down to meditate. It sharpens our awareness so that in the dark, we don't mistake a harmless rope for a snake, losing our peace of mind over an imaginary fear. The seventh chakra is the crown chakra or the Sahasrara chakra, modernly depicted by violet. It is the seat for emotions of pure cosmic energy and spiritual enlightenment, and is blocked by earthly attachment. To tap into its full potential, one needs to let go of the need to control and surrender to a higher plane or to the reality of now, depending on your perspective. My 7 pieces are cast. I just need to blast the surface with my heat gun and then set it aside to cure for a day. For this next step, I'm using crafting glitter matching the classic rainbow palette. As you might have noticed earlier, I didn't fill the molds right to the brim. I left that extra space intentionally to pour a backing layer of coating resin, which is going to add some beautiful background bling. Once it's all cured, I imagine the cabochons will work their magnifying magic, making each and every piece incredibly glittery and radiant. I'll pour the degassed resin directly into the mold. Once the surface is level, I'll take care of the edges to eliminate any bubbles along the resin seam. Then it's time to add the glitter and distribute it as evenly as possible. In a shallow pour like this, the surface tension comes into play. The surface glitter can and will huddle towards the center, while the heavier pieces sink right into place. However, while working, the transparency of the resin combined with the reflection of the glitter makes it quite hard for me to tell if it's mixed properly. We'll just have to trust the process here. This needs another day to cure. I felt impatient and I did try to use the sun to hasten the process. The medallions have cured, so let's pop them out of the mold. They look very nice. The hunch that the shape of these pieces would work well with the glitter was spot on. There are no bubbles along the relief work and all the castings are clean. This is a very pretty collection. It looks subtle and layered from the side and radiant from the front. To me, the glitter is symbolic of our inner energy, which ignites when the metaphorical light of consciousness falls on it, just like sunlight making these resin pieces gleam. But I wanted to bring out the symbols, just a little pick-me-up so they look prominent. First, I need to give the surfaces a little sand. I'll be sealing everything with a top coat of UV resin at the end to protect the details, and it bonds much better to a sanded surface. With the prep done, I can start filling the designs with acrylic paint, just smooshing it into the grooves and wiping it off. I will use gold for the earth and fire elements, silver for the water and air, and a mix of both for the upper spiritual chakras. However, if you want to keep this project super simple, you can absolutely use a single color like pure white or classic gold across all the 7 pieces, or not color it at all. It will look just as stunning. In hindsight, I should have wiped the excess paint away immediately. It's taking a lot more effort now, and the alcohol is actually pulling paint right out of the grooves. Let's rescue the paintwork for this medallion. The plan was to have both the colors, but this had become overtly golden, so the repaired work did work out in this case because of the added silver. The quick wipe was the way to do it. Next time, I'll remember not to wait. So fast and effective. Now, I need to figure out exactly what distance between the pieces will look best. I also need to ensure that the connecting piece is invisible and runs perfectly straight. If I connect them from the back, how do I make sure they stay evenly spaced and completely level? Another challenge is the curved surface, which might cause the piece to rotate while I'm trying to work on their connection. Luckily, this metal ruler is going to save the day. I'll use it to guide the beading wire. Since resin doesn't bond to metal or baking paper, everything should snap right off once it's set. So, after I have put everything in place, I plan to snap them off and then properly seal it. The added advantage is, because the scale is literally there, I can use it to space my chakras properly. The technique was fine. I just started with the wrong end of the spectrum. This also puts my mind to ease that the piece really does come off, and I will not end up with a very unusual piece of resin and metal wall art. Finally, I'll seal the back with UV resin, making the bond between the wire and the medallions even stronger. Another reason why I prefer to sand my pieces, even when I don't strictly need to, is that watching the matte surface become clear and glistening helps me ensure full coverage. There have been occasions in the past where I couldn't quite see it, and it was only after the dome had cured that I realized that the edges weren't fully covered or there were bald spots. It doesn't show when you look at it straight on, but it becomes quite obvious from an angle, and then I have to dome it all over again. I feel like the sanding technique is completely foolproof. It works for me. Confession time. I have been lax with my yoga practice, and I'll have to build up that momentum all over again this summer. I'm hoping this resin art piece on my wall serves as a reminder to get back on the mat and motivates me to keep the momentum going. This chakra wall decor is perfect. It is calm and light, even with all the glitter and acrylic paint inlay. The right amount of subtle which works with the yoga vibe. Happy crafting and have a wonderful day. Using the scale as a guide wasn't my first choice. I had actually traced the piece and created a paper template to ensure perfect alignment. I cut out a circle, folded it to find the center lines, and cut 2 holes to mark where the wire should attach. It felt like a brilliant technique, but during the process of marking, it got me thinking. Even if the holes were perfectly placed, there was no way to stop the wire from shifting slightly as the UV resin cured, since the shrinkage from the UV lamp tends to pull things out of alignment. I also made the happy mistake of misaligning the template vertically instead of horizontally. When I was finally deciding on the correct distances, I realized that the measuring scale was actually the answer to all my problems. However, the scale method wasn't completely smooth sailing either. Even though I was using the ruler to measure, I completely botched the spacing on my first attempt and placed several pieces at the wrong distances. I had to rip a few of them off and start over. Luckily, because I had only used a tiny dot of resin to secure them, they hadn't bonded too aggressively to the scale or the wire and popped off quite easily.